Alpha. Mm-hmm. My cat and I have been talking about different recovery programs. Mm-hmm. She told me about the SMART program, which we uploaded a video today about it, and some different options. And Mike last night, who was in rehab last summer, one of his programs was about trauma. You probably know all this stuff and know all about it. I everything is new to me.
Well, trauma is the new buzzword because it needs to be, and it's been neglected. But I think they're recognizing that a lot of the source of addiction is trauma, unresolved trauma. And the source of dysfunction in general, I think, can be trauma. I know for myself, I'm going to seek some trauma therapy. I just put kind of a religious Band-Aid on it all these years. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of mad about that a little bit. I'm a little mad that I grew up in an environment, even in my early 20s, where forgiving and casting out the spirit of rejection was the way to deal with 3 years of sexual abuse that I could have sent somebody away for. Or somebody could have said, how can we make this right? And that way I'm dealing with that. But yeah, trauma is, the addiction is what we're doing, but the trauma maybe is why we're doing it.
Mike had to explain it to me. He was telling me all about it. It seems reasonable. I just hadn't heard of it because I don't really know anything about this stuff. But Mike explained it to me. He said, I had some, meaning Mike, he said he had some issues that were deeply, deeply troubling that happened to him in his 20s. Mm-hmm. Because he said he went to treatment, and while he was there, they told him, well, you have to at least do some trauma therapy. And his initial response was, well, this is a bunch of BS. Suck it up, Nancy. I don't have any traumas. I had a great childhood and whatever. Mm-hmm. He said he got into his first session, and it wasn't that he had repressed the memory. He had repressed the significance of it. He said it turned out to be the most liberating, beautiful part of his treatment, which intrigued me. He said, if the only thing bad that's ever happened to you is that you stubbed your toe, that's traumatic. That becomes so much bigger, whereas somebody else can, be in war and have an arm blown off and it not be as big of a deal to them as, say, being betrayed by a spouse or something like that.
Didn't Paul say somewhere in the scriptures that don't compare yourself amongst yourself? There's a verse that says that.
Yes.
And I think comparison is the killer. It's the killer of empathy, even for ourselves. Kills our self-esteem. And I was just going over this today because I was talking about when my son was in ICU on a ventilator and life support. But he could still mouth, "Mommy, lay with me," or "Mommy, I love you." I remember thinking, I have the worst situation in the world. I have a son with brain cancer. I can't think of much worse, tied up to a machine. I was feeling really sorry for myself. And then I looked across the road or the aisle, and there was a woman taking care of her adult child, a male. And I talked to her, and she said, yeah, since my boy was born brain damaged, she's never told me I love you or Mom. And for 22 years, I've changed his diaper, taken care of him.
Wow.
That's my life. And I thought, oh my God, somebody always has it worse, right? There's always somebody worse. And when we paint our scenario, when we compare our traumas, it's like, you're right. I mean, what happened to you is real to you. That's your experience. So if it was painful, it was painful. It doesn't take away from someone else's, but neither does it take away from yours if yours wasn't that same thing. And
I had the opposite experience. As an adult, I stuffed it. Everything bad that happened to me, I would either feel that I had it coming and I wasn't worthy, or it's not that bad. I had to give myself permission to realize, no, this is not acceptable. This is not.
And this hurt me.
Yeah.
And it's okay that I hurt. It doesn't make me a crybaby.
Right.
There is some of that, just be a man, especially a godly man. When you add the godly man thing on there, do godly men whine and bitch and moan about stuff? No, they say Jesus bore it all, and I've spent my whole life ignoring the trauma of my childhood, which was very, very significant. I have yet to meet somebody in person. I know so many people who are sexually abused, so many, most of us. Almost every school day on 3 years at 10, 11, and 12 years old. So I had summers off, Christmas break. I mean, it was like horrible and horrific. And Jesus paid it all to him I owe, sin is sin. You know what? And I just totally have religiousized the significance of what that has to do in my life here in this world, which is why Alpha was good for me, because it really quick, the backstory of Alpha?
Yeah.
Alpha's it's a recovery program by John Glenn, astronaut name. It's easy to remember.
Yep.
Cowboy guy. Really cool dude. The first pastor I ever heard swear from a pulpit.
And you've taken it to an art form.
I have totally made that. I don't know. I always say the apple falls a little bit farther from the tree, so I'm not sure. He does love me, but I'm sure sometimes I make him.
Yeah, I heard you say asshole in church the other day when I was preaching
Well,
here.
he would have been cool with asshole. I remember a few sermons. We found him supernaturally in the middle of the woods, in the middle of Florida, and we didn't even have gas to get there every Sunday, but we scraped it. Yeah, I remember he gave out free tapes, so you always get a tape of the last week. Riveting. And he's got a degree in psychology and theology from Dallas Theological Seminary. But he said one Sunday, "Stop trying to kiss God's ass. He has chapped cheeks." And I, so naive, and I said to the tape lady, I'm so sad about today. And she says, "Why?" I said, "There won't be tapes for next week." And she goes, "Why would there not be tapes for next week?" I said, "Well, he swore." She goes, "That wouldn't make John not put out a tape." And then he would say things like, "Quit your whining and bitching." Very unreligious, took an offering, but then he didn't take a salary. It was just a lot of mind-blowing things. But his story is he used to have a huge church in Colorado Springs. So he had a church in Colorado Springs, and quickly his story is that it was pretty big. If I remember right, it had like 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was in the Focus on the Family arena type out there. Yeah. Very well respected.
Yeah, World Prayer Center, all that. I've been to the area many times.
Very well respected. Just an incredible human, but just very straightforward. He had given a sermon, and there was a line of people waiting to talk to him. And this is how I remember the story. He said that God said, "Wow, are you enjoying your little kingdom?" And he said, "Well, what do you mean, Lord? That's rude." It was like, "These people, this is your kingdom. I'm building your kingdom." And he goes, "No, you're not. They're all in single file waiting to talk to you. They're not talking to each other. They're not in a circle. They are in a line waiting to talk to you because you're the man."
Wow.
And he was like, wow. And he actually quit almost immediately. He got approached by somebody in Florida who had a drug treatment program. And he said, "We would like you to write a recovery series for us, for our drug treatment center." So he did. But what he realized when he was through with it, that it wasn't recovery from a substance. It was recovery from a mindset and from a religious mindset. And that we all needed that. And so Alpha started, cover of the book says recovery from life-controlling issues. But I remember him saying things that like all of our dysfunction stems out of our need to feel worthy. When we don't understand the gospel, which is Christ made you worthy, period.
Yep.
When we don't understand that, we tried all these other things. Yes, beer. Yes, drugs. But yes, approval addiction. Yes, performance-oriented stuff. Yes, religion. He said the most codependent, sick people go into the ministry. And it was like, ouch. But yeah, because there's such this spiritual gloss on it. Because you got pastor saying to Nancy, nursery lady, "Oh my God, you're so good. What would we do without you, Nancy? Oh, I know, pastor, you're so blessed. Oh, I just learned so much." And he said our codependent selves just,
Sure.
And we create basically a clusterfuck of just cheap cliche fragments of what grace really is. I do remember at the time we found him supernaturally, the first Sunday I was blown away. I'd never heard anybody be like this. And we just had a horrible trauma church experience. And my husband hadn't went to church in 6 months. And we go out there. And I said, "I'm so glad I found you." I mean, I think of myself, I wish you could saw me coming a mile away. But my husband hasn't been to church in 6 months, but I want to bring him here. Like, I'm going to save my husband and my family and be the godly one. And he goes, "Wow, what happened?" I said, "Well, we had this thing." "Well, sounds like your husband's been in a good place." "No, I'm the queen. I'm the one who saved my..." And he says, until we get rid of all that religious bullshit, we really can't hear God anyway. And he said, "Bullshit." I was like, forget about what he said. I just heard bullshit.
Yeah,
and I was like, wait, what bullshit? What did you say? Did you say shit? You know what I mean? And then he walked away from me. I had that initial...
Sure, gave you time to think.
Well, and he also refused to be worshipped. So it's like, he looked like the Marlboro Man, okay? It's not that he was just handsome, but he just had the cowboy hat, he had the attitude, but yet he was humble, but it was like, where are you going? I'm following, okay? Was your reaction instinctively. Right. But his reaction to that was, don't follow me. I'll lead you in a ditch. Look up. And I remember one Sunday he said, if y'all looking to me to solve your problems, you're in a world of hurt. And one time I asked him what I should do about something in my life. I said, what do you think we should do? Because that's what you do. You go out, talk to your pastor.
Sure, that's what we're all taught to do. Yeah.
And he said, why are you asking me, Kathy? I said, well, you're my pastor. And he goes, you don't think I have enough to do this week? I'm trying to love my wife. I'm trying to live my life in a way that's pleasing and reflecting of the character of God. And that's a lot of hard work. I have no clue what you should do. And he was a little hard on me, but I needed it. Because looking back, I was the starstruck. I need a new guru. This is my new guru.
Yeah.
And he was like, I will not be your guru. I went through Alpha. He was teaching it. It's a 12-week course. And I was blown away. I've never experienced just the systematic way that it's laid out and the truths that it just injects at the right time when you can take it. And after my first time through, I thought, I need to teach this.
Yeah.
And I said, he had videos. I know you have videos on Alpha, but I know that I'm supposed to be teaching it. And I'm wondering if you have a manual. And he said, honestly, Kathy, if you need a manual, you're not ready to teach it, show the damn videos.
Wow.
And I was like, yes, sir. He was right. I ended up going through Alpha Live, so 12 weeks, about 8 times before we moved here. And that was the reason we came to Wisconsin, was to bring Alpha here.
I sat in on one of your classes and got the book. I didn't teach it as a series, but I used bits and pieces of it. When we were doing the Red Door in Arizona, I used it over and over and over again on Wednesday nights.
When you mentioned Alpha to me this week, I was like, I'm going to suck at this because I honestly haven't cracked my book or thought about Alpha for several years.
I don't even know where mine is. Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that the principles seem so far away from me, but they're not. They really did the work they were intended to do, and I've kind of moved on. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to his church. Some people would leave because all he ever talks about is, our worth and value, and it's all Alpha. And he heard that complaint through the grapevine. And he goes, that's fine, go. Because honestly, at the end of the day, that's all there is. Yeah. That's it. It is a simple message. Jesus did for you what you couldn't do for yourself. He made you worthy and righteous and without blame before God, period. Well, even this and even that, and yeah. But I do remember one thing there was 2 things that were so powerful. The one, and this is an audio, not a video, so I'm going to describe what I would write. He shows a stick man that's back is bent over with a load of sin. So he does a little bent over stick man with a circle sin. Mm-hmm. And he says, this guy's in the crack house, whorehouse, overdrawn, IRS is after him, whatever. Yeah, okay, right. Scammed anybody, whatever. Let's just call this guy who he is. And pretty much all of us across the board as believers are going to say, dude, come to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And he's going to go, but I'm a crackhead, I'm a drug addict, I'm a drunk, I'm broke, whatever, all the things, right? All of us are pretty much going to say to that guy, it's okay, come as you are. We do. And I was thinking about it. Yeah, we do pretty much. Baptist, Lutheran, whatever. Yeah, right, just come to Jesus. Bring all your shit, right? Yeah. And so for the first time in his life, this is how John says it, that poor sucker believes you, okay? And for the first time in his life, he is like this. And he draws the stick figure with the arms in the air, and he's not bent over. And the reason he feels that way is for the first time, he feels loved and accepted regardless, in spite of his shitty performance. Wow. And we all know what that moment feels like, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he said that's why sometimes the big testimonies that are really bad, they have the most relief, those people, because, wow, I'm accepted by God.
Right.
It's just the way I am. And then they even challenge you. The guy might go, just the way I am? Are you sure? Yep, just the way you are.
Yeah.
So they're free. Then we take the guy to church. All right. Just got to let you in on the fine print, okay? We heard that you live with your girlfriend. That's a sin. So you probably need to find different living arrangements. I did hear you say shit the other day. Good Christians don't swear.
Yeah, they don't use the wrong word.
This drug habit you have, ooh, we can't really have you at our church very much because, you might steal from us, and you just need to have accountability, brother. And we just need to get you in a place where you're reporting to Joe Blow on Sunday and this one, and we need to get brothers around you to keep you accountable. Now, and you can't use, but not only should you not do those things, and you shouldn't have sex with your girlfriend that you've lived with for 5 years, but you should go to church every time those doors are open. Mm-hmm. And you need to read your Bible, and you need to read this book, and you need to do this. And he said, if that guy's energetic and got a lot of energy and a big time people pleaser, he will go down that road with you for a while. But eventually, that guy is back with his back bent over with a load on his back.
Yeah.
Except it is law, not sin. And then he carries that law as long as he can, grits his teeth. Finally, he says, this is Kathy's edition, John, if you ever hear this, fuck it. And he flattens out, back in the whorehouse, back in the crack house, all the things he did, but a million times. And then he ends it with this thing. He says, and that's what we call American evangelization. Ouch. I used to share that stick figure thing. And my husband, when he came to our church, he was like, after years, was like, if I ever have to hear that, another stick figure. But it's just a powerful way. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much just lay that out. And that was really, really powerful.
Yeah. Even Jesus says, woe to you, religious establishment. Yeah. You'll travel to the far ends of the earth to make a disciple and make him twice the son of hell that you are.
Mm-hmm. And he says, you lay burdens on backs of people that are too heavy for them to carry. Yeah. And then he says, you make laws of men to be laws of God. God doesn't smoke or chew or go with girls that do, right? I learned that from John. I stole it. It's like, that is not the gospel. Isn't that, powerful? Yeah, Jesus totally backed up the.
Wow.
So it was like that was a memorable thing that stuck with me and framed my ministry to other people and coming out of religious abuse. One other thing was the Tarzan thing. He talked how, people can't let go of what they have until they can grasp something else. So the revelation of the gospel of Christ for people, their worth and value, until they see their worth and value, they're going to hang on to this dysfunction that makes them feel worthy. It's like Tarzan grabbing the rope, right? He's flying through the air, and he doesn't let go of this one until he grabs the next one.
Right.
And that was an important thing to recognize. He talks about the iceberg. He is actually a Carl Jung, Jung, J-U-N-G.
Mm-hmm.
That's his way of psychology. Like that was his kind of guru or whatever. But talks about the needs. Okay, so it was the needs hierarchy, the hierarchy of needs. And when people, they're going to get these needs met some way or another.
Yeah.
And we scramble to get those needs met. And if we don't understand God did what it took to meet our needs, if we don't get that, then we're going to scramble as humans to get them met any way we can, even at the expense of other people. The subconscious mind. I remember him talking about how why you do what you do is below the surface. And it's that massive iceberg that's going to crash your Titanic of a life. But all you saw was the little tip, right. And that's the conscious mind. So you know that you do things, but you don't know why you do it. And God's more concerned about the why.
Somebody hears this, the 3 people who are listening, who hear this.
I don't know, I've told 3 people a day. So
how do they deal with this? Is this a going concern? Is this still happening somewhere?
Yeah, he has a church in the woods. He promised to never build a building. So I've been gone 20 years in the area. He is still meeting in the woods every Sunday, baptizing out of a cow trough. But alphaministries.org, I believe, has the book available. Yeah. And the book is really powerful and laid out in such an amazing way. I don't want it to be confused with that. So it's called the Alpha Series.
Right.
Not
as opposed to
Alpha program, or there's another Alpha that is not the Alpha Series by John Glenn.
Yeah, it's taught at Lutheran churches. It's
right,
taught all
and it's a
over
great thing. It's kind of a basics of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fine. It's not though this life-changing recovery thing.
Yeah.
So Alpha Ministries, but it's called the Alpha Series. I imagine his videos are online out there that were with the book. I can't imagine him not doing it because money's never been a thing for him. This is Kathy and Mark, and we are walking each other home.